入ったりと徐々に自分の弱さを見せて、しかし私の信仰を揺りくされたのではなく砕かれました。内側は木の葉のように震えてますか。ライオンに変身、守らなければなりません。彼らを失望させるわけにはいかない。アテナ、手を貸してください。守らなければなりません。彼らを失望させるわけにはいかない。アテナ、権限を貸してください。戦闘や不安から脱却し、真実をつかみましょう。未来はあなたの手の中にあります。ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい。私は十分に強くありません。しかしだからこそ生き残らなければありません。Everfall。
Hello and welcome back to another recap with me, your DM for Ruination. I will be recapping the episodes 3 and 4 from Act 2 of Sacrilege. Now, where the party left off was they finished the carnival, they fought the songstress, the siren, whatever you want to call it. They chased after Michelangelo and they found out, oh no, it was actually Da Vinci all along. Where they ventured through the school of Alexandria, solved some puzzles using some spells that are pertaining to this door at the back of Da Vinci's office, Archmage Da Vinci's office. So once they solved this puzzle with the use of spells, it opened up an entranceway, stairs, that led down to a cave and revealed a stone chapel of Baphomet. When they entered and they found out, oh, okay, there was an offering of a pile of corpses where the lectern was at. And then Da Vinci revealed himself to be a vessel for a shard of the soul of Baphomet. The two gargoyles at the entrance of the chapel doors animate and they decide it's time to roll for initiative. The party fights the gargoyles and Archmage Da Vinci. Our new party had a long and gruesome fight. Spell slots were expanded. They were running thin on their utility. They tried their best and they defeated the gargoyles, and Da Vinci was the only one left. That is where Da Vinci reveals his true form, an abomination. A part of Baphomet's soul distorted and contorts his body into a almost unrecognizable demon. So the party does battle with this creature, which was once Da Vinci and now a mouthpiece for Baphomet. And it was tight. And in the end, Charlene rolls for a guiding bolt at level 3, but misses. And so, Charlene does the unthinkable and uses her inspiration point and hits, thus ending the party's demise and destroying the shard of Baphomet. The vessel disintegrates, dies and destroyed. They put a pause on Baphomet's plans for another few centuries. And that's where they rescue Michelangelo, who was actually doing Da Vinci's bidding all along. And his eyes were gouged out, so he was screwed. But they rescue him. Edwig dies, so that's a dent in Imperium. Lecario, however, the finance minister of Outerbridge, survives, but unconscious. Michelangelo proceeds to tell the party a lot of warnings about the Black Sun and the Black Dragon from the south. Michelangelo tells the party that Azazel is the Black Sun and Arima is the Black Dragon from the south, hailing from Dragon's Peak. which was once Everfall. So all of this was to start a war between Imperium, Outer Bridge, and Thundermere and make sure Imperium falls and Thundermere falls. Michelangelo also warns that the growing threat in the north about Arima, the destroyer of Everfall, and Azazel are trying to make an alliance. And if this alliance comes to fruition, there will be no more hope in Everfall. Michelangelo tells the party that they should try and stop the advances of the Violet Dawn in Kirin and Zarkovia. So they decide to not go to Kirin and Zarkovia and go to Outer Bridge, obviously. And they take a long rest, heading towards the sewers, which leads them to the Thundersmith and the Thundertap pub in Rilla. It is here that Enoki pays a good price for Charlene's breastplate. As they go through all of that, they are greeted with Auntie Helene with her two kids, Janelle and Jason. Charlene recognizes these two. Charlene is from Thundermere, and they make a bit of conversation, a bit of bonding. And then the Rilla, which is a city at the outskirts of Thundermere, comes under attack by the Violet Dawn with a new lieutenant by their side. So once there was a monk named Lei who was the lieutenant or the inquisitor of Azazel. Now there's a new one called the Black Exarch, which is, they find out it's Gwen, the one that Nafrak failed to save. Gwen taunts the party, and especially Charlene, because they are related. Gwen and Charlene are cousins from the same family, the Summers family, which will have a lot more meaning in the upcoming acts. Gwen starts killing people that she can see. She starts to show off her power. And then she kills Janelle and Jason and tries to drink their blood. But immediately Gwen recoils as the blood from the children, they hurt her. Almost like a searing pain, almost like a demon drinking holy water. She recoils and she runs away, going back into a portal full of monstrous hands that appear out of thin air, conjured by another tall figure that the party meets, Balthazar. An older figure with a beard, a white beard, and a great sword, donning massive armor. He stands very tall and is very intimidating. He intimidates the party by revealing that he is the right hand of Azazel. He too goes off with the Black Exarch, Gwen, who is weakened from the blood from the children. Leaving the party to fight the Violet Dawn, when all the bodies are left, they all conjure and they join each other to form this giant abomination of bodies, which they make quick work of as well. They rest momentarily. Viego heads to the hospital to look for some medical supplies. There, Viego meets a very snarky nurse that he kind of falls in love with for a while. But then, an old auntie, an old woman that just stares at Viego with blue eyes. Viego turns to this old woman, and this old woman speaks to him in a way that only he remembers. An old enemy. They all leave to Outer Bridge. They journey along the river instead of the mountains, specifically choosing the riverside to reach Outer Bridge. They find a hut by this river with some old dried food just hanging outside and a door. They decide to walk in, breaking and entering into a random person's house, like every D&D party. Totally normal, and they fall for a trapdoor right in front of the door, and it is a hole that sinks all the way down. Everyone except Charlene and Blaise. So everyone else was in this hole trying to find a way to climb up. And then a hooded figure appears behind them and tells them to leave, obviously. One of them notices this figure. Blaise recognizes this figure for a while. And realizes that this is probably an old friend that they once knew. But he escapes just before the rest of the party finish climbing out from the hole and suffering a bit of damage. So the party goes into this hut anyway, even though it belongs to someone else. And they find a broken sword and an Angel City dagger, which Blaise pockets. They continue journeying forward and they find a lighthouse by the side of this river. Now, they enter the lighthouse and they find a basin in the middle of this lighthouse that is meant for you to cleanse and clean your feet and hands. As the party enters this lighthouse, they meet Balthazar again, who goes to the basin, puts his hand into the basin, and this basin looks like it's a lot deeper than what it's supposed to be, as he puts his whole entire arm into the basin and pulls out a gem from the basin. Balthazar decides that it was time to play a game. He wanted to toy with the party and he said, let's leave it to fate. So he pulled out a bunch of dice and asked them, if you rolled higher, he will leave. If they rolled lower, the party will die. And none other than Blaise steps up for the challenge and rolls and gets a 6. Balthazar only rolls a 4. Thus, Balthazar fulfills his promise and leaves. But an entire undead army of trumpeteers and orchestras, the orchestra of Trenon, which I will get into detail in a bit, surrounds the lighthouse. The party leaves and finds that these are undead creatures that have trumpets stitched to their skin, forced to play this melody and tune forever with a conductor behind them. The party engage in a battle immediately, and they find out that physical attacks do not work on the trumpeteers. So quickly they switch their attack to focusing on the conductor, which actually eliminates the entire orchestra, and they all die. Yeah. So there was a mini puzzle on the bodies of the trumpeteers. They decipher it and they find out the body has a puzzle that points west. And that's where we finish. Alright, thank you for listening to Session 3 and Session 4 of Ruination Act 2 Sacrilege. It's a pleasure to DM for my players, and it's a pleasure to bring this story to you, the audience. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you don't mind this terrible documentation. But, you know, play D&D, roll some dice, and kick ass and chew bubblegum.